Welcome to the Interstate Mets Report with your hosts, Nelson and Chris.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to a special edition of the Interstate Mets Report. Obviously, as you can tell, this is not our regular scheduled programming. We are going live on a Sunday night. Usually we're on Tuesdays and Fridays. But in light of recent news, we are live to talk a little bit about the Mets deadline moves thus far and maybe some potential moves that are going to be in the works here before I think the deadline is Tuesday, August 1st. So let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about all that good stuff. Obviously, first and foremost, make sure you follow us, our account at Interstate Mets on Twitter. We are going to get that up and rolling here shortly. I'll be a little bit more active on there, but you can follow us on there. We usually post some updates on there as well. If you are watching on my YouTube, make sure you go and follow Nelson on Twitter. It's at Amish Country Met. And then also you subscribe to Nelson's YouTube, which is at Amish Country Mets Fan. A little bit of a different ad there, but make sure you follow him on both Twitter and YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. He's almost at 200. I think last time I checked, you're at 189. So almost there, boss. Almost there, boss. Really close.
I'm
And then
actually
he's got Facebook. What was that?
I'm actually up to 196.
Look at that, man. You're just killing it. You're killing the game. I love it. I love it. So follow him, subscribe to his channel, get him to 200. His count's moving like crazy. And I love all the stuff that he's putting out there. So also got Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Amish Country Mets Fan as well. So lob him a follow on there. If you're listening over on his page as well, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube. It's at CPNY Sports. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you're watching on mine, you somehow navigated to it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It's going to be in the lower right-hand corner. And then my Twitter and Instagram is at CPNY Sports as well. So it's at CPNY Sports all across the board. And like I said, first and foremost, most importantly, follow the Twitter at Interstate Mets. It's supposed to be a Mets Day after show, but we talk about everything on the Mets regarding the Mets. And it is really the Mets Day after show here because – well, they lost last night and they got a nice little victory today, but that's not what we're here to talk about, right? So Nelson, man, how are you doing? Good to have you on. I appreciate you joining me on a little bit of an impromptu special, but we got some good discussions here. We got some good topics going. So how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited to we got the ball rolling on some of these trades. I was hoping we'd move earlier than wait till the last minute. I wasn't looking forward to just trying to sneak in deals at the end because that can be hit or miss sometimes. So prefer that we got some of it out of the way early, and yeah, looking forward to talking about it a little more in depth here.
Yeah, it's crazy too because not only did we get some trades in a little early, it's like the big fish that we traded off early as well, which is, maybe I expected to see some deals for maybe like a Tommy Pham or, somebody else that wasn't as high of a price like Mark Canha or something like that. But we already see that David Robertson and Max Scherzer probably are two best pieces outside of maybe Justin Verlander. We'll get into that here shortly are already gone, and we've got some pretty good returns, in which we'll talk about here shortly. But yeah, it's kind of surprising that the big fish have been traded away this early and not so much of the smaller pieces. But yeah, no, definitely, and we're gonna get right into it here. I know we touched on this the last show, and I just figured we'd rehash what we were talking about before with the David Robertson trade. We'll just get into the David Robertson trade really quickly, and then we'll go down the line. But the David Robertson trade, obviously, we got Marco Vargas and the Ronald Hernandez, who's a catcher, 18 and 19 years old, respectively, those prospects from Miami. Vargas is a middle infielder. We had some discussions with our good buddies Mets Talk with Hayden and Rob, Talking Mets with Rob. If you don't subscribe to their channels, go subscribe to their channels. We do a podcast, the Roundtable podcast, every Monday that Nelson and I are also on, and just talking about the future of these prospects and talking a little bit about Marco Vargas and obviously now Luis Angel Acuna. And but yeah, we got Vargas and Ronald Hernandez for the David Robertson deal. And we kind of debated this back and forth back on Friday's show, a little bit closer to when the trade actually happened. And, the concern that I was echoing was that these guys obviously were in still the Florida Complex League, which is basically rookie ball. And we gave away David Robertson, who obviously is a veteran guy, probably one of the best relievers on the market on the trade block thus far. And I was just a little bit concerned that, they were still in rookie ball. Obviously, the projections are what the projections are. Obviously, the Mets front office likes these guys enough to have pulled the trigger this early for those guys, especially from what it seems like Marco Vargas, who's going to probably be number 2 now. That Acuna is in the Mets farm system officially. I guess we'll see that on August 1st. But give me just, I guess, rehash a little bit of your ideology of that trade and where you see, especially the competition, really, because Vargas is now going to give Jet Williams either a run for his money at second base, or we're going to be talking about Jet Williams potentially playing a different position, which is probably going to be the outfield, right? So give me a little bit about your ideology, rehash some of your thoughts from Friday. Let's get back into it before we get into that Max Scherzer deal.
Yeah, like I've said countless times, I've been wanting to sell. I've jumped on that bandwagon. I want to say as early as almost anybody else I could think of. Um, it was just, to me, the writing was on the wall with this team. I feel like we needed to retool for next year. I like what Billy said. It's not necessarily a fire sale; it's a repurposing of Steve's money, and that's what it is. We needed to repurpose. We needed to readjust. This going with the old guys wasn't really working. So when I was looking, what I was looking to get out of these deals, I wasn't looking for that flashy prospect, even though Luis Angel Acuna is definitely a pretty flashy prospect. I was looking for just talent in general, and I'm not looking for specific positions. I know everybody's harping about we need pitching, which if you actually look at our minors right now, our pitching is, there's a lot of guys down there that are overachieving. So yeah, we still need pitching. I'm not saying we don't, but it's, the situation isn't as dire as it was maybe as last year or the year before that. So yeah, I was looking for talent, and what the Mets got out of that deal for Robertson is 2 younger guys with higher upside. Not necessarily guys that, yeah, they're guys that you could strike out on. You never know. They're really young, but they've seen Vargas play a lot. The Marlins practice on the Mets fields at times, so they have scouts watching these guys. They obviously like the kid. They like Hernandez too, but Vargas is like the prime guy. He's the one everybody's talking about. Like all the prospect guys, if you hear, like they really like that kid. He actually slid into on the Marlins prospect list. I guess he was like 18. He slid into number 6 on our list. And that's good, man. And that's not even an updated list. They're updating the list here based on this year's stats and everything here in a couple weeks, I think. So he might even go higher than 6. So to me, that's a great return for however old Robertson is, 30-something-year-old, late 30s reliever. Yeah, he's been very good, but I don't know. I didn't expect like a top 100 prospect for the guy, and we actually might have got one anyways, but he's just not one right now. And that's what people got to realize. It's not necessarily, yeah, the rankings are subjective. Like everybody's got their own rankings. Everybody sees players in a different light. Those numbers that you see, that number 18, 19, that doesn't really mean anything. It's more about how these teams evaluate these guys and what they see. And the Mets obviously saw something they liked in the little homework I've done so far, because I get pretty big into the prospects. I started diving deep into it as soon as I heard the trade happened, and I like what I see. He looks very solid at the plate. Um, very, very few things that I see that concern me. Maybe his speed isn't that great for a middle infielder, but other than that, like he's got a pretty solid glove. Um, they, they do believe he could move around the diamond, like position. That's the one thing I want to get into too. Like position wise, I'm not worried about, oh, he's a shortstop or he's a second baseman. None of that matters, especially when these kids are this young. They can move. Jet Williams, yeah, he's been playing middle infield as well, but he's already played. I think I just sent it in the group chat, like 16 games in the outfield at center field this year. Um, so that process of moving him to the outfield has already started. I expect that to continue now that he's been promoted to Brooklyn. He just got promoted today. Along with and Nick Morabito got promoted to St. Lucie. So guys are moving around. I know there's a, oh well, all these guys are going to be in the same. No, they're not going to be in the same um, position in the minors. The Mets are adjusting. They're moving guys to where they need to. Um, yeah, I all good things. I don't have a problem with the trade at all. I know some people wanted more. Some people wanted higher ranked prospects. I just want to stack the system with as much talent as possible so that when we are ready to strike and make a big move for whoever it may be, let's just use Juan Soto as an example. I'm not saying we're getting him, but say he becomes available in the winter or next year at the deadline and we want to go after him. Say we didn't get Shohei, or maybe freaking Steve is crazy and we got Shohei and he still wants Soto. You never know. Steve Cohen has proven he will do anything to make this team better. And if you can't see that, then I'm sorry, you just got a problem with the guy because he's willing to throw tons of money away for a guy that he's not going to be playing for him in Max Scherzer. So yeah, he's proven he'll do whatever it takes. So with these deals, like you can stack up, you can have 5 shortstops, sure, but puts you in a position to trade 1 or 2 of those shortstops and still have guys waiting in the wings. Same with the catcher position. Yeah, we have a bunch of catchers. Doesn't matter. Get as many catchers as you need because you could trade them to another team looking for catching down the line. So that's where I'm at with that deal in particular.
Yeah, no, and all great points, and I definitely misspoke, on Vargas's ranking. He slid into 6th. I think I said 2. Obviously, Ronnie Mauricio right now is number 1. The rankings will probably shake up. Ronnie Mauricio is definitely a different topic, but Parada's still on there. You got Jet Williams still on there. Vassal's still on there. So, yeah, Marco Vargas might even be a little bit higher than 6. We'll see when the official rankings come out. I got some comments from the usual suspects. Appreciate the guys showing out for the little impromptu special episode. Always appreciate the support from Stevie Mac 23 says, "What's up, guys?" And our guy Jay from JNY Sports. Subscribe to Jay's channel. Great guy. Hope to have him back up on here too, talking some Mets baseball with us. So we got to work that out. But he said, "What's up, boys? Crazy couple of days, huh?" Yeah, I mean that's really what it is. And honestly, it might get a little bit crazier. So we'll see what happens with this guy named Justin Verlander here in the, in the next coming days, and we'll get into that. But Stevie Mac 23 says, "I can see Jet taking over center field and Nimmo moving to the corner, presumably right when Nimmo gets a little bit older into that 8-year contract that he just got this offseason. Nimmo will be mid-30s by the time Jet is ready." Yeah, and I completely agree with that notion, Stevie. It's something that just makes sense. Given Jet Williams' stature, also he's 5'6", about 175 right now. Even if he puts on 10 to 15 pounds, 5'6", 190, that plays well in center field. You're nimble. Probably nice cut and nice. If he gets the reads down, he could probably cut pretty well to the balls, take the necessary angles where a bigger bodied guy probably can't do the same. So if Jet Williams is not going to be included in a trade for like a Juan Soto type kind of player, like you just said, then he's probably going to be leaving the infield now with Marco Vargas here, presumably to stay, given all the reports that we've seen from these reporters and not only the Marlins, I guess scouting accounts on Twitter that we've seen and that we've tossed around in the group chats, but John Heyman just put out an article as well, not an article, but a tweet basically saying that he's been hearing a lot of good things about Marco Vargas in particular. Not to mention, obviously, Ronald Hernandez is the catcher. 21st ranked prospect in the Marlins system. We'll see where he ranks for the Mets, but Parada's right before him as well. So that'd be an interesting kind of topic of discussion with Alvarez here to stay. We can assume Parada coming up quickly. We'll see, how far along he gets. And then obviously Ronald Hernandez right behind him. We got Brandon in the building, my guys. He says, "What's up, Brandon? What's up, Brandon? We see you. Appreciate you joining in. Thank you for the support." Yeah, and yeah, like you said, I agree with all that you said, Nelson. And my tone, right? Because I didn't know, right, if the Mets were gonna go half-ass in terms of the selling mode and going into sell mode, or they were really going to just say, "Hey, listen, if you want out," like they did with Max Scherzer, who we'll talk about here. "If you want out, see you later. Here's the door. We'll pay to even have you leave. Like, if you don't want to be part of what we got going on in 2024, see you later," right? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about Mr. Max Scherzer, who just got dealt to the Texas Rangers for Luis Angel Acuna, the brother of Ronald Acuna Jr. Um, Obviously, we've all heard good things about Luis Angel. To be honest with you, maybe this is just casual. I had no idea Ronald Acuna Jr. had a brother in the minor league system. I had no idea. I had no idea. I'm not really in tune with Ronald Acuna Jr. I don't really know about any of that, but it's good to see he has a brother, and obviously that's a family of baseball that they're coming from. So I'm sure Luis Angel is going to be, he's a talented guy. Just by the stats of it, I mean, he's in Double A, right? And talking Mets with Rob when we were on that podcast, the Mets Roundtable podcast, you look at Double A as really tougher competition than Triple A almost, because you got Triple A where the guys who go out and have their careers to die, they know they're not making the majors. They're just going to stick around Triple A, chase that dream of potentially cracking a roster. And you got really the studs who are really like gunning for a major league spot up and coming are the ones in Double A right now. And Mr. Luis Angel Acuna is hitting 315 with an 830 OPS in Double A when he was in the Texas Rangers system this season. And what's underrated about that, and I didn't see that, he got 42 stolen bases in Double A as well. So that tells me that he's got some speed. And that listen, and I did not think Max Scherzer was going to get traded. I said it for weeks. I said that contract is not movable. I don't think I know Steve Cohen is willing to spend, but I didn't know that he was willing to spend that 35 M's or whatever the official numbers were. I'm not sure if that was for this season or not, but I think he's spending 35 M's on the contract this season. Is what I saw. Do you know the official numbers on that, Nelson? Did you see a report on that?
I believe there was various reports. I believe they're spending 15 or so to for the rest of this year, and then covering 22 mil next year, something like that.
Was that the
So it
Mets?
is, yeah, that's how much the
Okay,
Mets are
okay, okay,
covering.
okay.
They do still save like a pretty good chunk of money off the payroll next year.
Yep.
So I mean, to me, it's a win all the way around. I mean, I'll get
Oh, it is
into
a
it
win.
when, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll turn it over to you here just a little bit. But yeah, just get to some of these comments here. Brandon says he has two brothers, I think. Or maybe one of them might be a cousin, but he plays for the Twins. His name is Brian Acuna as well. So that's some good info, good intel. Like I said, baseball family. JNY Sports brings up an interesting thing here. Hopefully we can see Acuna in September. We'll see. So the Mets don't like, and I don't know why. I think the last person they might have done it was with Michael Conforto, maybe, unless I'm just forgetting somebody, but they don't like bringing people up straight from Double A, which I don't really know why. I don't really think that Triple A is really all too necessary, because you see these guys killing Triple A, Mark Vientos being one, and they come up to the majors and struggle. Now I'm saying that Vientos is going to struggle because he hasn't had consistent playing time, but it's something to say and show for. When Michael Conforto came up from Double A, he did just fine, right? And we haven't seen that since from the Mets organization. The Braves did it with Michael Harris. Obviously, we know Michael Harris is a stud for Atlanta now. So, great point, JNY. I think a lot of people don't think about that. We got Keith in the building. Interstate with the heart. Appreciate you, Keith. Thank you for tuning in. Brandon saying Keith with the little heart emoji right there. Love to see that. Appreciate the guys supporting the channel, the stream. Acuna with 42 stolen bases, Jet with 32. Imagine that speed on the same team in a few years. Yes, that is amazing. And I cannot wait for that, to be honest with you. That is something that the Mets have done a better job with this season. But the last couple of years going back, they're not really known for stealing bases. Nimmo, a guy who you would think be able to, steal some bases, just doesn't. Lindor's probably one of the better base stealers outside of Marte. And we all know Marte's, whatever his future is with the Mets, it is what it is. I'm not really sure. We haven't really talked about him potentially getting dealt this trade deadline too, but I'm still trying to figure out what his injury status is as well. So we'll see what happens. And then CPNY Sports says Mets will spend a total of 33 mil collectively is what I saw. That's the number I was seeing on Max's contract. I saw a tweet saying Max is the only player in history getting paid 15 plus M's from 3 different teams. Mets and Nationals both covering 15 million for him, and then the Rangers, whatever they're covering. You said I think 22 or something, or whatever they're covering this year. But anyways, yeah. So let's talk about this trade, because Max was very outspoken in his press conference post game that, after the David Robertson deal, he said, well, I can't really give you an answer. They literally just did, the front office being, they just traded our closer. So I think that myself and some of the other guys are going to have a talk with the front office. And I swear it's like Steve Cohen saw that and said, you're out of here, dude. See you later. So what is your take on the whole situation from start to beginning with Max, going from the press conference of him needing to talk with the front office, which, dude, you stunk all year pretty much. Why do you need to talk to the front office? Like, play a little bit better. And I like Nimmo, but Nimmo said the same thing just here recently. So we're seeing this sort of weird vibe in the clubhouse where they're like, is this front office really going to put together a winner in 2024? Which I still think they are, but the guys maybe don't believe it. So, what do you make of this all, especially pertaining to Mr. Scherzer here?
Yeah, well, I mean, I try not to be too long-winded with this, but I do want to touch on the overall sentiment of the team, because a lot of these guys have seemed to have the same reactions. Even Verlander today, like this whole, well, I'm kind of shocked, and I did, dude, like, what the F are you people smoking? Like, you're the problem. The reason we are in this position is because of all of you and the way you're playing. So what is it to be shocked about? Like, what did you expect us to do? You expect us to just sit back and leave everything the way it is? Like, come on. Like, it's a joke. Nimmo can shut up. Scherzer, thank God he's gone. He can shut up. Verlander, I would like to keep him, but if he wants to go too, then we can get a decent piece for him. Then go, because I don't need guys on the team that don't want to be here, and that's what it sounds like. And if you can't buy into that and can't buy into next season with an owner that's proven that he's willing to spend, it's not like this is going to be the club next year. We're going to add guys. How we do it, I don't know, but it's going to happen. So I'm a little fed up with that, to be honest. And Lindor is actually one of the only guys that said, hey, I'm proud. I still want to be a New York Met. I still believe in the vision.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. Yep.
Brother. Thank you for saying what you should have said. Like, people get on him all the time, but I'm sorry. He's the one guy that goes out there. He's playing every day. He wants to be a Met. He says the right things. Some of it's a little cliche, sure, but what I heard from him is what I want to hear from the rest of these guys. And even Nimmo, like that, I know he's not going anywhere, but that bothered me. Like, bro, like, step off. It just bugged me. So yeah, that whole attitude bothered me. And did it play a factor in Max getting dealt? I don't know. It depends on who you believe. I guess Martino said that they were, and there had been reports that they were shopping him before that. But it might have helped speed the process along, because I don't think Steve Cohen is the type to put up with people's crap. And there's a very good chance that he saw that press conference and was like, all right, really? Come on, bro. So, yeah, you want to meet? Let's meet. Let's meet so I can tell you you're on your way out. And I'm happy it happened, to be honest. Like, listen, if you look at his overall numbers, just look at the stats and don't think about the situations and blah, blah, blah. Overall, it looked like he had a pretty solid career as a Met. 3-point something ERA, Like, yeah, overall not bad. This year he stunk more than he didn't. And in the big spots, he didn't come up big for us. Like, let's be honest. So I was ready to move on. We have discussed this over and over while I was ready to move on. And I had said multiple times, like, I can see us moving this dude if we get the right trade. You had felt a little different, but in the end, I didn't see it happening either. I agreed with you. I thought it was very unlikely. It's just a lot of money to eat, and I just didn't think we would do it. As much as much money as Steve Cohen has, I thought, nah, probably that's gonna be a lot to ask. But he stepped up, man. He's like, you know what? To get the piece, to get Acuna, I'm gonna pay a good chunk of that contract. And I respect him for it. And I loved Acuna, man. I just had it pulled up. Let me read the stats off like exactly. Yeah, 315 average, 7 homers, 51 RBIs, 42 steals, only been caught 5 times, 830 OPS. The kid's a stud down in Double A. He was the number 3 prospect, I believe, in the Rangers system. Our updated list, MLB did update it today. He's number 2. A lot of other guys.
Is it Ronnie
As
one?
No, Parada's 1. Ronnie, I believe, is
Wow.
3. Um, yeah, Parada's 1. Parada's been 1 ever since Beatty and Alvarez graduated. Um, this Acuna kid's 2. Like I said, a lot of prospect guys are saying that they have him at 1, though. That's just MLB. Joe DeMayo said he'd be putting him at 1. A few other guys have said they'd be putting him at 1. And actually, on the updated list, he might very well be number 1 on MLB's updated list. They just haven't done their August update yet. So we'll see, man. That's a great get. Obviously, the pedigree's there with his brother. His brother's an absolute stud. If we can get anything close to that, we definitely hit a home run there. I can't argue at all with that trade. Like, I don't know how you could. I saw some people complaining that we didn't get more than 1 piece. I'm like, give me a break. Like, it's just you're not gonna make everybody happy. I know that, but Luis Acuna is a stud, and to get rid of Max Scherzer, to get rid of that headache and him talking all that smack, I'm totally on board. I can't wait to see what this kid can do. I guess they're sending him straight to Binghamton. He might not be there long though. As for what JNY said, September, I don't know if I see a September call up. They're like you said, they're not that aggressive when it comes to prospects. They like to wait, but he's definitely a good bet to make the team at some point next year. I don't know about out of camp. We'll see how it goes and who's on the team and this and that and the other. But he's definitely a good bet to make the roster next year at some point. And it's exciting, man. That's another young kid to add to the nucleus. You got Alvarez. Yeah, Beatty has struggled, but I still believe in him. I still believe he can turn it around. Vientos, we don't know what we have with him yet. The one thing I do know with him, he needs to not be in the field. The guy does not belong. Take away his baseball glove. Take it away, burn it, and stick him at DH because that's where he belongs. And let him prove whether or not he can hit. If he can't, it is what it is. He hasn't ever been a prospect on the level of all those other guys. He's always been a tier below. So we'll see if he actually has the goods or not. But hopefully we start moving these guys. He actually gets more of an opportunity because obviously Buck's been screwing around with the dude. But yeah, no, I love this trade. I can't say anything bad about it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree. Before we get into these comments and the sentiment, of the Mets moving forward, because I fully expect the roster to just look different. Not only obviously next season, like I fully expect the Mets to be competing for a championship next season. Steve Cohen's going to find a way to do it, especially with a president of baseball operations, whoever that may be, coming in. But just post deadline here on Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm expecting a bunch of DFAs. To be honest with you, I can't really rationalize why a guy like Daniel Vogelback would still be on the team, even if he doesn't get dealt. To be honest with you, I would hope the front office makes the call and says, hey, listen, we're bringing up these AAA guys. We'll see who has what for the next, this next 2 months or so, and we'll play it by ear from there. And whoever doesn't like it can get on out. If Justin Verlander doesn't like it, he can waive whatever no trade he wants. And like you said, I really want Justin Verlander on the team next season, because I think he'd be a viable, obviously, ace for the team next season. Scherzer was not going to be that. Scherzer was going to be a 4 at best on the team next season. So that was a if Steve Cohen's fine eating that 33 mil collectively, fine by me too. Cut your losses and not on that investment and go get, a top prospect, and which they did in Acuna. So really good job there. And I completely agree. Like, these guys, Brandon Nimmo, which is really disappointing for me because Nimmo's always smiling, always happy, always upbeat. It was a really disappointing answer that he gave the media as well. And like you said, Lindor gave the perfect answer. I did see him say that. He said, I'm going to be here for a long time, and I'm going to, the goal is to always compete for a championship, and he knows he's going to be here for a long time. So he's not making any enemies or any sort of fuss in the media, regardless of what he feels. Because, like, the players maybe do have a right to feel that way and said, like, hey, why are they, we're 7 games out of the wild card. Why are they dealing away our closer, whatever. But, like, that's just something you don't say to the New York media, right? It doesn't go over well. Let's get into some comments here. I know how you feel about this. So we traded McNeil or what? Brandon says. Um, yeah, I mean, at this point, someone might take him. I don't know. Keith asks me. He says, Chris, what grade do you give Epler for 2023? I think Epler saved himself by a long shot these last couple of days. I'm still not confident in his competency as a baseball GM, to be honest with you, through and through. I don't know if he was the actual mastermind behind these deals. I don't know who the mastermind in this front office is without this president of baseball operations. I'll give him that's a tough question. I'll give him a C plus, man. I give him a C plus.
I was
That
gonna say, do we need
B
to break
minus
it down as
depending,
all his moves so far?
huh?
Do we need to break down all his moves so far so you can
No,
like?
I mean we could, but I think I'm gonna give him a C plus, and depending what he does now into Tuesday, I'll give him a B minus. But I just don't think Billy Epler just deserves anything higher than that, to be honest with you. I'm not even confident that he's making these moves himself anyway. So, we've talked about that. Nelson, Billy Epler and his successes and failures as GM of the Mets so far. Whether he's going to stick in that role moving forward, or maybe they find a special advisor for the Japanese league for him, which I think that could be a good position for him. Maybe recruit that pitcher coming out in free agency this coming year. But yeah, maybe a C plus. I don't think he's to blame for the way that the season has gone so far.
Can I give
But
my grade?
yeah, go ahead, give your grade.
As much as we shit on this dude, sorry for the language. Um, I think, and I have to see what he does the rest of the deadline. For right now, to me, he's earned a B. He's worked his way back up. Like, you can argue he's a GM. Like, you can argue you don't think maybe he's behind all these deals, but he's got the title, so I have to assume that he's the man making the moves. And there's nobody above him, so I don't think Steve's making the moves. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna give him a B. These last couple deals, and the Escobar deal was solid too. To be honest, the Gott deal, I mean, whatever. He kind of got. um, but so far, just based on this year's moves, not anything in the past. I'm just this year's moves. I'd give him a B.
Yeah, and maybe I'm a little bit harsh because this past offseason was like no other in terms of having your best pitcher pretty much leave, and not really having the chance to retain him, right? And then obviously he got Verlander, which was the next best option. Obviously, everybody likes to talk about him not going out and getting offense, the whole Correa debacle. But Tommy Pham was the only offensive upgrade coming into the season, and Tommy Pham ended up being one of the Mets best players for what 2 months there of the past 2 months of the season. So yeah, like I said, if he does right by the Mets the next couple of days, if he lets go of Hannah and Pham and some other guys maybe potentially in between, to get some good returns for them. Decent, I should say. Maybe more of like, obviously, I think Fam is worth more than what we got for Escobar, but it's not going to be, like a David Robertson or a Max Scherzer type deal, obviously. But yeah, man, like I said, C plus, B minus. I'm not convinced it's all him, but he does have the title, so we'll see how it I really want to. If I don't read many books, I'm going to be honest with you. Like I read a lot of my day to day, just like online. I don't read many books, but if some journalist wrote a book about the Mets, the 2023 Mets, and how they were operated from start to beginning, I will read that from cover to cover and probably 3 times through. So we'll see if that ever happens. But I'll stick by C plus, and then that could change to B minus come Tuesday. So that's my answer for you, Keith. Brandon says Lindor, my captain. Lindor definitely, he's been carrying himself not only on the field but off the field, and his press conferences really well. And Jay is agreeing with that. Mets fans have to respect Lindor's handling of the press so far. I completely agree. Stevie Max 23 says either Cohen or Epler needs to talk to the team to reiterate that they're still aiming to win next year. It's like they all forgot Ohtani will be a free agent and we have the richest owner in sports. Completely agree. I don't by any means I'm expecting the Mets to compete for a championship next season. And not every team, not every franchise in the major leagues can say that after a season like the Mets are experiencing here in 2023. If this was a lot of other teams, it'd be like, all right, 2024 rebuild year. Now with the Mets, I don't think that's a possibility for Steve Cohen. So, yeah, and I've seen Steve Cohen be the scapegoat for a lot of people on Twitter. And I just don't buy it. I think he's done right by the team in investing, and he's done right by reinvesting by eating money where need be, right? This is basically free money he's giving away to make the team better in the long haul. Not only by getting these prospects, but freeing up that roster spot with whoever he decides to go and get next, right? So, um, yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment, Stevie Mac, 100%. Brandon says, remember Amish when Cohen said that in the press conference he didn't care about the money? It was already spent anyways. 100%. Yeah, that impromptu little special he did. A lot of cookie cutter stuff, but that was one of the main lines, like he said, that really caught obviously our eye. We did talk about that on one of our earlier episodes here as well. Before Acuna, it was Parada, Mauricio, Williams in that order for the Mets farm system rankings. That's what you said, Nelson, as well. We'll see what happens, here in the next couple of days if Acuna cracks one or he's still going to be number 2 behind Parada. Kind of shocking because I haven't followed Parada his journey so far. I don't know if he's kind of, is he impressing? Have you heard anything about Parada, Nelson?
Yeah, he started off a little slow, but he's picked it up. I think his OPS is still in the 800s. He's been solid. His defense leaves a little to be desired behind the plate. Most people think he's going to move off a catcher at some point, whether it's first base or outfield. We'll see. Obviously, the Mets could probably use him as an outfielder more than a first baseman, assuming we keep Alonso long term. But yeah, I like what I see out of Parada in Brooklyn so far, and he's impressing the scouts as well.
Good, good. That's what I like to hear. Yeah, I haven't really heard much. I haven't just really been keeping up with Parada. I've been too enamored with Francisco Alvarez and what he's been doing in MLB, level, and we'll see where Parada fits in. Um, that's going to be kind of tough to handle. And I mean, honestly, at this point, when you're talking about a Pete Alonso extension, I don't think Pete's going anywhere. But if you were to move a position for Parada, it'd probably be like first base, right? If you were to move positions, and you stick with Alvarez at catcher, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that can be worked around. I don't think Alonso's going anywhere. I think he does sign that extension, but we'll see how it goes. AP, what up? AP's in the building. Would you trade Bobby Valentine? Would you trade for Bobby Valentine or Terry Collins? Yes or no? Remember, Kyle Kuzma is not available. Kyle Kuzma, man. Oh my goodness.
Yes,
I
the
love
answer
it.
is yes.
The answer is yes. It's always yes. Yeah, we got the comics in the comments. I love it. Um, Keith asked, "What's Billy Epler's worst move in 2023?" I don't think it was a move necessarily. I'm just still very bothered about the Daniel Vogelback situation. Obviously, that aligns with Buck Showalter as well. I know that wholeheartedly. But like we've said numerous times on here, Nelson, Billy Epler provides Buck Showalter the tools for what he can use on the field. And the fact that Daniel Vogelback is still a part of this team, it just doesn't sit right with me. And I don't know, man. Like I said, maybe my grade of a C plus is not really about based off of his moves, which maybe is a little bit funny and maybe not fair, but um I was still sort of a little bit biased about his moves last season. So I was kind of judging him for, but Keith did ask for 2023. So maybe I gave a little bit of a wrong grade there. But yeah, man, I don't know. Billy Epler, a lot of people do, like, I'll say he's done better than a lot of people give him credit for. I think he's the most unfair scapegoat on Mets Twitter, right? You talk about um yeah, you just talk about the whole bunch of moves and what he could have done this past offseason, and there was really not much for him to do, right? The rotation was as good as it's going to be. You could talk about maybe retaining Chris Bassett as a potential move, but really, I mean, Chris Bassett's not a guy that I'm going to cry over, right? So, like I said, I will agree with that. Billy Epler has gotten an unfair shake on Twitter. I'm just
I
not
just
sold on him being a GM as a standalone product of him being a GM. So, what was that? What was that, Nelson?
I just I just scoured his moves just from January 1st to today. Basically, that Trevor Gott move is his worst like transaction move. I will agree with you though, like his roster moves, like for the team in general, um, keeping Vogelback around, the call up situation, stuff like that. That's been a little suspect, but yeah, overall, that Trevor Gott move really is the worst move he's made in 2023. Everything else I can't really argue with, so I don't know. I stick with my B.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like I said, yeah, and like I said, he doesn't really have a compounding list of bad moves per se, and I know that. Like I said, when I grade a GM, it's based off of my confidence of whether or not he can get the job done, right? And I just don't think he can, and I think we've seen a little bit of lacklusterness this season, um, from the top down, I should say. So we'll see if there's a little bit of stability with the present baseball operations coming in. Like I said, it's probably going to be David Stearns. We've probably seen that, the reports or whatnot. But Billy Epler, I think with the right guidance, he can be a great GM. But I just don't like. We haven't really seen him buy anything like we've been talking about. We haven't really seen him buy anything. Last year was a complete failure at the deadline, to be honest with you. In my opinion, obviously, you talk about what he could have done at that deadline, overspending versus what was available in 2022. I get it. Um, but coming away with Darren Ruff and then obviously trading what that trade just ended up being a complete failure, that Darren Ruff trade. So we're not going to talk about 2022. We're here to talk about 2023, but I'm not convinced with Billy Epler just yet. And if you are, then sure, that's by all means a fair assumption, but I still got a lot more to see out of him before I can say that he can get the job done. Um, and that's just what I'll leave it at. AP says, if you could go back and prevent our previous GM, oh my God, from drinking. Oh my goodness. What was his name? Something Scott. What was his name, Nelson?
Zach Scott,
Zach
maybe.
Scott. Zach Scott. Uh oh my goodness. And Nelson, I'm gonna let you take this one. Let take this one for me. This is a loaded question.
If you could go back and prevent our previous GM from drinking and driving, would you? Follow up: would you serve Epler drinks before he got in a car so he could lose his job? How could you? First question: no. Second question: also no. How about that? That's what we're going.
Fair assumption. Fair assumption. Keith says he bought Senga. LOL. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking free agents. I'm talking about buying, as in buying with trades. But yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Senga move was a great move. But I just his trade negotiations last season was a little bit iffy for me.
He certainly
Vogelback is doing
proved that he
well.
can spend Cohen's money. He's done that.
Yeah, which is and that's I feel like a GM that's half competent can spend Steve Cohen's money somewhat and hit some targets, but um yeah, I don't know, man. Vogelback is doing well. I think that's a troll. I hope that's a troll because I mean maybe recently, I don't know. I haven't really
He's
been
done well recently, and he
yeah,
didn't do
recently
bad
maybe.
last year. Overall, that trade to me is a wash. The Darren Ruff trade was horrible.
Yeah,
The
though
Tyler
I'm not
Lincoln trade was
yeah.
stupid, but the
Yeah.
Vogelback trade, it to me, it's a wash.
Yeah, I'm not gonna cry over Colin Holderman as well. It was a little bit of a head scratcher when it happened last season, just due to the fact that Holderman was actually doing quite well for the Mets, but it's not something I'm gonna keep crying over. And I think a lot of people on Mets Twitter that do judge Epler in a negative way, always bring up the Holderman trade, and it just wasn't. It's not really something that's a talking point to me. What was the aura of Max Scherzer misleading? Um, hmm. Is the question, Keith, you can follow up in the comments. Is the question of his aura being misleading in terms of when he was in the Dodgers still and the Mets were looking to acquire him? I'm not sure if I understand that one. Um, Buying and trading is different. Buying in a trade versus selling in a trade. Yes, I agree. Free agency is different than trading. I think that's what is the point there. Look at Vogelback's numbers. I did. He's hitting 226 with a 706 OPS and 97 OPS plus, which is below league average. He's not doing well. Um, Mad Max. Oh, Mad Max. The aura of Mad Max was a little bit misleading. Yeah, I think so. I mean, 2022, it's just all confidence to be honest with you. 2022, he looked like a bulldog out there. We were hyped for Mad Max days and in 2023 talking about his front leg and giving the excuse of his front leg and he finally figured it out and gets shelled in Boston and yeah, man, it just the antics get old after a while. He's 39, 40 years old, whatever he is. I think it was a little bit misleading. Yeah, he's a respected veteran, first ballot Hall of Famer, to be honest with you. Like we all know that, but at a certain point, it's just like just the age takes over, to be honest with you. What do you think about that, Nelson?
Yeah,
The
yeah. I'm
Mad
just
Max
saying. I mean,
aura.
this is the thing. Whether it was misleading or not, yeah. I mean, it got a little old watching him huff and puff in the dugout and the antics and that. It's almost like he was trying to play into a character and whatever. The thing is, though, you kind of had to sign him. There really wasn't another option. It's the same thing with Verlander. It's like we were kind of stuck in a place where if we don't make those moves, people would have killed Cohen. I mean, we could go back to when he had a choice to make. Steve Cohen, when he bought this team, had a choice. You either because this team had nothing. The minors was crap. The team itself was crap. So he either had to spend money to try to get this team to a competent level, or you break it down entirely and tell this fan base that you're doing a full real rebuild from the jump. We know for a fact we're Mets fans. Mets fans weren't going to buy into that. They would have roasted Steve Cohen. Oh, this billionaire, and he's got all this money. He bought the team, and now look, all he's doing is he's just doing what the Wilpons would do. Like it's just he just had no real good choice. So he chose to try to stick a band-aid on it and ride it out, try to build up the farm system while spending money. It worked last year to an extent. We won 101 games. It didn't end well. This year, obviously, it hasn't worked. And now Billy is doing what he needs to do. He's repurposing the money. His words. So yeah, I mean, was it misleading? Sure, but I also feel like we kind of had to sign him. It just is what it is. It didn't work out the way we wanted. In the long run, though, it might work out for the best because we got a guy. If he becomes a superstar like his brother, then the whole Max saga was worth it. Let's be honest. So that's how I feel about it.
No, like you said earlier in the show too. I mean, Mad Max's career as a Met, like numbers wise, is not. When you look at it on paper, objectively, he's got pretty good numbers as a Met. This season, obviously, skewed those numbers in the wrong way. The wins were there, just everything else, the big spots weren't there. And he just got shelled in games where we needed a competitive start and a competitive outing. And like I said, age just takes its toll at some time. And I respect him and what he did for us last season. I respect his career in total, but it was just seemed like it was time to move on. And I think the final nail in the coffin was the comments to the reporters. I firmly believe that. So, but like you said, all worth it if Luis Angel Acuna ends up being something noteworthy for the Mets at any point in the majors. So completely agree. Let us move on to this man on the screen. Will be one of the final talking points here is Justin Verlander. Reports swirling. I think I saw some bogus reports saying about the Houston Astros looking to reacquire him in deadline. I don't know if that's just smoke, but I think more of the interesting story was the Dodgers, who obviously just recently, the last show, I forgot who broke it to us, but I think it was Stevie Mack, Lance Lynn, and Joe Kelly going back over there to the Dodgers. So they're making moves. They're in it, right? They're in it to win it. Braves and Dodgers, the powerhouses. Um, I mean, what do you think? Justin Verlander, does he have any real shot at being traded? Would you like to see him traded, Nelson? Like I said, I've been saying it, for quite some time. I think that he will serve a purpose in 2024 if he sticks around. That third year also gets a little shaky in terms of, the contract language, but if it can be worked around, you know, is it worth it to part ways with him?
Yeah, I mean, Justin, listen, he's another polarizing guy. Didn't get off to the start that I think a lot of us wanted. He's been better, a lot better lately. Um, I know people still don't love him. Some people do, I guess. But when I look at the prospect of competing next year, if you trade him, you have a lot of rotation spots to fill. And that's my only concern with that. Um, Personally, I think I would keep him now that Max is gone. But listen, if we're blown away, if we get a package for this guy, if we could get a package of players, maybe somebody that is major league ready, um, I wouldn't say no just off the bat. I'd definitely consider it. I'm not, and I think Epler's proven he's willing to listen to anything. So I I don't want it. I don't want to deal with Houston, to be honest, because Houston's farm system kind of sucks. I don't think there's a fit there for us. LA would intrigue me very much. LA has a lot of good pieces. Um, yeah, it depends on how much. There's a lot at factor here. Like how much money. I don't. Are we really going to want to spend another 30 something million for this guy to go play somewhere else? I don't know. Steve's crazy. Steve will do anything, it seems. But and then it depends on is he going to request the trade? Because if you listen to his comments today, he didn't sound that enthused about being around here either. He kind of made those same wishy-washy comments. He didn't go as far as Max, but even like he mentioned the standing ovation. He's like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but if that it's like, well, why are you talking like that? Like, do you think you're going somewhere? Like, uh so I don't know. I don't know. Steve and Billy see that and go, well, this guy doesn't want to be here either. Let's have a conversation with him and see if we need to unload him too. I guess that's a possibility. We got 2 days to find out. I think based on just everything though, I think we do keep him. I would keep him just for we need a little bit of a we need something in the cupboard for next year. And just having Senga alone and maybe Quintana, I don't think that's enough. Even if you sign Shohei, you still need a couple guys. So, um, yeah, I don't see it, but like I said, man, this week, if anything has been proven, is that anything is possible. Uh, Steve Cohen, I give the man a ton of credit. Man, not everybody loves him, but he's willing to do what it takes, and that's all I can ask. Because I lived through the Will Ponds ownership. You did too. You're a little younger than me, not maybe as long, but it was they would never ever do anything like this. So credit to Cohen. We'll see what happens. There's a lot to happen. We still got obviously, like you said, Fam on the table. Canna, who knows? Narvaez could go. Not too many other guys, maybe Rayleigh, but I feel like we might want to keep him. He's under contract for next year. So I'm thinking the rentals for sure could be gone. Anybody that's under contract, again, maybe if the right deal comes along, maybe we do trade them. But yeah, Canna, Fam, definitely I could see going, and then we'll see about everybody else. Ottavino maybe. Um, but yeah, Verlander's our last big ticket item that might be available. So it'll certainly be interesting to see what happens here. We got what the dead. It's Sunday, not almost 9 o'clock. The deadline's Tuesday at 6, a little later than usual. Usually it's 4 p.m. So yeah, we got between now and then to see what happens.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and that's my concern too. It's like you go and you trade away Verlander if it's a possibility, and the only team that I think it's a possibility with is, like you said, the Dodgers, because one, they'll probably be willing to take the most money on the remaining contract. I can't really see another team justifying, paying Verlander an extra, what, 30 million of their cap space, maybe even nah, probably a little bit less than that, given what Steve Cohen's willing to pay. But I think the Dodgers are really the only team that would probably be willing to do that, in the position that they're in, to be honest with you. So we all know what the Dodgers, farm system looks like. We know what they have to offer. It's intriguing, but you do have that sort of other point of it where you're looking at 2024 and filling in not one rotation spot, but two rotation spots at that point because Carrasco's gone. You'll have Quintana, you'll have Senga, Scherzer's gone, and you got Vassell coming up. You got Shohei on the block. You got the other Japanese free agent guy coming in, on the block that the Epler just went to go scout. If you get rid of Verlander, I mean, you got to sign two free agents. You're talking about, a guy like Urias, Nola, whoever. We talked about it last episode. Guys who the free agent list for 2024 pitchers outside of that Japanese guy overseas right now. I think the only guy that I'm comfortable in signing is probably Julio Urias. That's probably the only guy. Aaron Nola maybe a second, but I'd be a little bit more confident with Urias. But it's not like these are not surefire guys to be giving long-term contracts to. Like none of these guys. Blake Snell for sure not. Urias, I think his sample size is a little bit better than the other guys. That they have to offer. Obviously, Stroman's on that free agent list, but that bridge has already been severed by a long shot. So yeah, I mean, do you have any opinions on that? I mean, because that's going to be a that's going to be a tough little task to manage if they go ahead and trade away Verlander. So I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I agree. Other than I mean, obviously Shohei. Shohei's the guy. Shohei's the guy we all want. Shohei's the guy that solves like huge issues. It gives us an ace, gives us a DH, which DH is a black hole. We've said it. So Shohei's the big get, but that's going to be a tough one. We've talked about it. So if we can't get him, I'm not in love with any of these pitchers either, man. Snell, to me, he's a contract year darling. He's pitching for a contract. I don't love that. Urias has having a down year. Yeah, like you said, he has a little bit better of a track record. He is younger, which I'd like that, but I don't love him either, to be honest. I don't love a lot of these. Nola, no way in hell. I don't want anything to do with that dude. I think he's overrated. Um, yeah, and there's a
Well, you're
lot of
telling
the
me you don't
rest of the
wanna
names are
you're telling me you don't want a Syndergaard reunion, man? Come on now.
yeah, no. He's I might take a trip here. I live pretty close to Cleveland. I might take a trip here just to boo him if he ever gets on the mound. Um,
Yeah.
it's just I'm not enamored with any of those names except for the Japanese guys. I think Yamamoto. I'd
Mhm.
love to have give me I my dream rotation, and I know if Keith is still watching, I know he's on board. Otani, Senga, Yamamoto, call it a day. Bring Team WBC Japan over here. Let's just ride with the Japanese Mets. Um, I'm down for that plan, but if that can't
Studs.
happen, then it's tough. So like it's 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 a wild card. You're taking a risk. Like I said, if you're blown away, I think you have to do it. But you're taking a risk in dealing Verlander and having that many holes to fill.
Yep. No, I completely agree. Shout out Morning Brew Sports Network. They're tapping into the show. Go subscribe to them if you haven't. They're doing a lot of good things over there as well. Appreciate you all tuning in. Um, Angels, I think Keith's breaking some news to us. Angels getting
Ooh,
CJ Crone.
that's an
Um,
interesting move.
yeah, I mean, the Angels are kind of making a bid to make a little run here. I don't know what the deal is with Mike Trout if he's fully healthy or not. I've been paying attention to Angels baseball, but that owner man is interesting. That guy's a character. I respect what he's doing and how stubborn he is, but that guy's a character.
Yeah, he's putting all the chips in one basket, and if it doesn't work out, he's really screwed. Because if
Oh
Shohei
yeah.
walks and he didn't trade him, and he gets left with nothing but his you know what in his hand, that's gonna look bad. But
Yep.
they're going for it. I mean, we'll see. They
Yeah,
need Trout back though.
I'm just
Trout being hurt's a problem. If he can come back, then maybe they got a shot.
yeah, they might, but I'm not confident with that organization to do anything, especially this year. I mean, it's a valiant effort, and you like to see teams spending and buying, and when they can make a run for it in doing so. But like you said, this is putting all your eggs in one basket as as an owner, and it's just it's a really tough situation. So you better hope it pays off because they got Rendon there stuck for the future, and they got Trout there stuck for the future. We all know Trout is injury ridden last couple years pretty much, and yeah, it's just not good contractually wise. Keith says Otani, Yamamoto, and Senga. I don't give a crap about 4 and 5. Yeah, man. I mean, I agree. You got Quintana to fill that out, and then I mean, if you got Otani and Yamamoto, I don't see Verlander being here, right? I mean, maybe, I don't know. But
Yeah, that would be
um
crazy. Imagine some Verlander is here and that's four. You could throw Peterson out there, throw Miguel out there at five. I don't care if you got those four.
exactly, exactly. Um Over under 500 million Mets offseason total spending. Jeez. I think it's gonna. I mean, obviously it depends on Shohei. If it's Shohei's gonna make up 500 M's probably by himself. So, if without Shohei, I think it's still gonna be up there. I don't. I'll go under if it's not Shohei with no Shohei, but I don't think it'll be too much under. What do you think, Nelson?
Yeah, I agree. If there's no Shohei, I think we can. I mean, especially with some of that max money off the books, I think we will be uh, maybe between 3 and 4. If Shohei's coming, because he can't be the only signing, so you're gonna have to add him and a few other guys. So yeah, 500 might be realistic. You never know. It's crazy to think,
No, you know
but
what? I think I'm gonna go over. Cause well, one, just a general, failure of this season. I think Steve Cohen gets a little mad and he just tries to flex, a little bit more than he already has. But Pete Alonso's extension could be a little bit of a portion of that, right? You're talking about whatever Pete Alonso's in line to get. We'll see if he gets extended in this offseason, but that could be one too. So if that happens in the offseason, maybe they're well on their way to 500 total spent this offseason, even without Shohei Otani. So we'll see.
yeah,
We'll see how it plays
fair
out.
enough.
Serious question. Vogelback is the best left-handed DH in New York.
I mean, that Yankee lineup is looking tough, huh? Um,
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah, did you see the
that,
game today? You watching Sunday Night Baseball?
I have not. Well, I heard that the Orioles are kind of whipping up on them, aren't they? Is that the
Yeah, Severino gave up 6 runs without recording an out in the first inning, so
ouch?
that
Yeah,
that's pretty hard to
New
do.
York baseball is in shambles in the Queens and the Bronx. He might he might be right about that. That's not necessarily a glowing endorsement, but Vogelback. Listen, Vogelback is. I argued this with Keith last year when the trade went down. I was one of Vogelback's biggest supporters. When I first met
Yeah.
Keith, I was saying like this isn't such a bad deal. He's okay. He's competent. This year, the beginning of this year, he didn't prove to be much, but I also wasn't expecting. I don't think I expected to keep him around either. I thought he was going to be here last year and be gone. Um, we kept him. It's starting to look better now, but nobody can argue that those first few months before his mental break, it was dismal.
I mean, he's not gonna be around next season anyway, so he's just taking up a roster spot in my humble opinion, but I mean, it is what it is, man. I mean, give Mauricio a shot. Maybe you can platoon Mauricio and Vientos at DH, see what they got at the major league level, and then if they're not planning on trading Mauricio, which like we've already gotten into this whole topic of Mauricio potentially being trade bait now, and with what they're bringing in, this deadline, I think it's becoming more and more apparent that that may be the case. So we'll see, but um, we get to this last comment here. Keith asking what movie Vogelback's gonna watch first, Barbie or Oppenheimer. Yeah, it's Barbie for me. I think he's watching Barbie first. So that's my answer.
Um, yeah, he seems like a Barbie guy. I don't know why he does. I'm gonna go Barbie too.
Yeah, there we
That should be
go.
the
There
next
we
team
go.
outing. They should all go watch Barbie together.
They might as well at this point with the way this season's looking. So, but yeah, man, that is it for us. Obviously, as always, I appreciate you, Nelson, hopping on. Follow us at Interstate Mets on Twitter. Follow Nelson on Twitter at Amish Country Met. Follow him on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Amish Country Mets fan. And for crying out loud, get him to 200 subscribers on YouTube at Amish Country Mets fan. If you're watching on my channel, if you haven't subscribed to Nelson's, it's 4 away. Get him there. And you're gonna have to shout yourself out maybe tomorrow on our roundtable podcast. And we got to get you there soon because I know that's a huge mark for you. And just how far you've come ever since I met you when we started doing this. It's been cool to see. So congrats to you. Early congrats for 4 away. Subscribe to my YouTube at CPNY Sports. Would appreciate that. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram at CPNY Sports as well. Again, follow us on Twitter at Interstate Mets. We're going to be posting there a little bit more. Final thoughts, Nelson. Give me your final thoughts. A summary. We got a nice little hour, a little over an hour in here talking Mets trade deadline. We'll be keeping our eyes peeled and we'll have a lot to talk about come maybe we could even break some news on our Tuesday edition with the deadline being extended because we're going on at 5. So we'll be on high alert that episode. Give me your final thought.
Yeah, no, my final thoughts. Well, first off, thanks for the kind words, and I appreciate you co-hosting this with me. And it's fun, and like we keep saying, we're gonna keep doing it no matter how freaking bad we are. Um, we as a team, the Mets as a team, not us. I don't think we're that bad. um, so yeah, appreciate everybody watching. Keith, thank you so much. Your stuff is great as well. Listen, Shay and Sons, I'm gonna plug them right now. If you're watching this, they have a YouTube, they have a Twitter, they have a podcast. Check out Shay and Sons. Keith and Keyshawn are great dudes. So please check them out. And yeah, man, just thanks to everybody that has subscribed. If anybody watching can get me to 200, I appreciate it. As far as the team, I'm hoping the next couple days we get some stack up that farm system some more. give me something to talk about. I'm as soon as the trade deadline's over, I think Wednesday I'm gonna try to film one of my Talking Farm on the Farm episodes to kind of give everybody an update on these kids and who we're getting and what maybe we can expect going forward in the future. Because I'm excited, man. I'm a big prospect guy. I'm excited to see what these guys can do. Shout out Chris, Dominican Chris, White Chris. There's tons of Chris's around. Yeah, man. I'm just excited. I mean, I know it's a down year. I know nobody wants to see the losing. I don't either. But if this is where we are, I'm excited to see what talent we can put in the system. So thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and thanks, Chris. And let's go Mets.
No, yeah, completely agree. Appreciate everybody tuning in, all the regular, listeners. Stevie Mac, Jay, Brandon showed some love earlier as well. Appreciate that. Keith dropping some comments. Appreciate the nice comment here as well. Like Nelson said, just to piggyback, I think we're gonna plug Shay and Sons in here. Subscribe to their YouTube. I think it's just an N in there for Shay and Sons. So subscribe to @Shay and Sons on YouTube. Regular podcast coming out. I think they do a weekly one that we're always checking out as well. On Twitter as well, follow @Shay and Sons as well. They do some great stuff. Always appreciate the love from those guys. Always checking out their stuff as well. And like I said, we'll see. Oh, shout out Chris as well. Got Chris Torres here. Appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, and like I said, it means a lot. Everybody listening means a lot. Appreciate everyone keeping up. We've been doing this for, about a month now, maybe a little bit over. And, we're just growing as each episode goes by. But, we have fun with this, even if they're bad. Like you said, this is all part of the process. This is what baseball is all about. It's a process. Mets are not where they're at, where we want them to be at. But 2024 off season, hopefully will go by quick and we'll be back into some better baseball, better days ahead. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you all. And like Nelson said, we'll be here through the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll keep on making the content. But as for us, we are out here today talking about the Mets trade deadline edition, a little bit impromptu. Thank you for tuning in. Definitely appreciate it. And as always, like Nelson said, let's go Mets, guys.
Let's go. See ya.
Thank you for watching the Interstate Mets Report. Streaming Tuesdays at 5 p.m. and Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to @Amish Country Mets Fan and @CPNY Sports.